time. Yep.
Welcome to episode number 164 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on YouTube on November 5, 2016. I am with my, this is David Erickson. I'm with my co-host, BL Achman. We have a lot of topics to cover this week. Among them, no text voting, Uber driver bias, Facebook's racial targeting, the Vigilante App, fake news, hell freezes over, President Obama sings to Prince, Good Girls Revolt, and a lot more. But we always started off with the worst. And BL, you always have the honor to kick it off. What was the worst story of the week?
Well, I have to precede this by saying there is no such thing as text voting, but unfortunately there was a spate of fake ads by the Trump campaign telling Clinton supporters to text their votes. There's no such thing. If you want to cast a ballot, you can vote at your polling station or absentee. That's it. But ads are still circulating on Twitter that lift imagery right out of Hillary Clinton's campaign materials and say, save time, avoid the line, vote early, text Hillary. And, you know, that's just a way of stealing votes because you cannot text your vote. So some of the images were pulled from her actual campaign marketing materials. One showed a Black woman and a Hispanic woman in what may be an attempt to dupe minority voters. One was written in Spanish. So an account that's been deleted, the Ricky Vaughn, tweeted them out with the hashtag I'm with her. So it was very confusing. And that person had 11,000 followers before his or her account was suspended. And that account had previously tweeted conspiracy theories and racial and homophobic slurs and regularly had links favorable to Donald Trump. What a surprise. And so they're fake. They're not real. Please ignore them. And, you know, there was a number listed. A few people reported that they texted Hillary, and what they got was a version of the ad you saw was not approved by iVision Mobile or Hillary for America in any way. To opt into the real Hillary for America list, text HFA to 47426, reply stop to cancel. So you can't hopefully dupe people, but what a horrible, disgusting, vile, rotten thing to do. And I can't wait for this freaking campaign to end.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I don't have anything for that.
There's not, what can you say? You know, like, what can you really say?
Yeah. So Uber is in trouble, or in the news, not positively, and they're sort of in the same kind of boat that Airbnb found themselves in not long ago. This is from a Washington Post article by Faiz Siddiqui. It's a new study by the National Bureau of Economic Research that illustrates a pattern of racial discrimination in Uber pickups. It shows that Black passengers wait longer for rides and face cancellations at double the rate of white passengers. The study analyzed 1,500 rides on Uber and other ride-hailing services like Lyft for evidence of racial bias. The tests were conducted in Seattle and Boston and aimed to uncover bias in the pickup patterns for these services. UberX, which is the least expensive of Uber's services, UberX drivers were more than twice as likely to cancel on riders with African-American sounding names than passengers thought to be, Black waited as much as three times longer for rides. Among men who requested rides in low-density areas, riders were more than 3 times as likely to have their trip canceled if they used African-American sounding names. Here's how the study worked. For each trip, researchers took screenshots just before they requested a ride showing the expected wait time before a trip, the wait time after the trip was accepted, the times when the driver arrived, and the time the trip ended. Then they analyzed wait and travel times, cancellation rates, costs, and user ratings given by drivers, but they did so using dual profiles, one with a white-sounding name and another with a seemingly Black-sounding name. In Seattle, the researchers found that Black riders on UberX faced about 30% longer wait rides weights than white riders. No such pattern was found for riders using similar apps like Lyft. The researchers surmised that was because on Lyft, names and photos are given to drivers before they accepted a trip, so any discrimination occurs prior to accepting the initial request. In Boston, the higher density of drivers meant that longer wait times were less likely. But UberX passengers with black-sounding names face more than double the cancellation rate of those with white-sounding names, 10.1% versus 4.9%. The problem is far worse for men, whose cancellation rates were 11.2% when using African-American sounding names compared to 4.5% when the same people used names thought to be white. So, yeah.
So what's a African-American sounding name? What does that mean?
They didn't explain what that what that means, but
that's a tough one. So along the same lines, Facebook was accused of letting advertisers exclude users by race. It's from a ProPublica article by Julia Angwin and Terry Paris Jr. And what happened is Facebook social network allows advertisers to target users by their interests and their backgrounds. And it also gives them the ability to exclude specific groups it calls ethnic affinities. Can't talk today. Ads that exclude people based on race, gender, and other sensitive factors are prohibited by federal laws in housing and employment. And if Facebook offers this feature, it could be a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And Facebook claimed that targeting by race, this is one of my favorite things, is a common practice in the industry. Yeah, everybody's doing it, basically, they said, saying that targeting towards Spanish speakers, for example, helps deliver Spanish language advertising. But Facebook isn't the only major tech company whose tools allow people to creatively violate civil rights legislation. Airbnb does that with distinctively African-American names, which I still don't know what those would be. But, Facebook denies it. And they said that, everybody's doing it, even in traditional media. And ads have always been placed on the audience of a particular magazine or TV show. So is that happening? I would guess it is.
No, absolutely it's happening. And I actually don't believe that. I mean, it's on the advertiser to not discriminate. Facebook has these tools that allow you to target very, very, hyper target exactly who you want to reach. And I don't think it's necessarily a negative. It's on the advertiser not to discriminate. So I wouldn't place the blame on Facebook. I'd place the blame on advertisers who are using it discriminatorily. A campaign, Hillary Clinton, if she wants to attract African Americans with a very specific African American targeted message, that's going to be far more effective than if she's targeting everybody with that message. It's kind of an inefficient use of advertising dollars.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So this week, Microsoft is mad at Google for revealing that there's this huge Windows 10 bug that's already being exploited. And Google announced this, saying that they had already given Microsoft and Adobe they gave them 10 days notice that they were going to announce it, and they made the vulnerability public. And Microsoft said that's not enough time. And so security experts are sort of siding with Microsoft, saying they will need more than a week or 10 days to come up with a fix. Well, something's really wrong with that. But The Verge reported that the bug itself is very specific, that attackers can escape from security sandboxes through a flaw, but it's serious enough to be critical. And according to Google, already actively exploited. So beware.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's a common accepted sort of gentleman's agreement, as it were, when it comes to bugs, that you kind of you let the company know and give them enough time to fix it before announcing it publicly.
Is the question.
That is a question. We don't know that, but but I mean, I feel for Microsoft. I'm more inclined to be sympathetic to them than to Google, so we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
I'm more inclined to be sympathetic sympathetic to Google. So there you go.
There we go. We're
Does
balanced
that bring
out.
us to better news?
Now, one more. Well, yeah, this is kind of, I don't know whether this is in worst or bad, so it can be a transitional one. There's a app called Vigilante App. This is from a Washington Post article by Tom Jackman. It's an iPhone app that was released last week in New York City, and it lets people know when any nearby crimes are in progress that are being reported to police. It enables users to either avoid or approach the area where the crime is allegedly happening. The New York cops didn't like it. And neither apparently did Apple, which removed it from the Apple Store shortly after launch. Andrew Frame is the creator of the Vigilante app. He sees the app as a way to use transparency both to fight crime and improve police community relations. He's working to restore the app on Apple phones and release it on Android phones, and hopes to expand it beyond New York, where it debuted after a closed test with 1,000 users in Brooklyn. The app maps where crime is being reported and allows users to record live streaming video of an incident or report an incident. The app cautions users to keep a safe distance and let police handle a crime that's in progress. It's apparently mainly listening to police scanner traffic, and then they're writing short summaries of events that are dispatched, which are sent to users through the notification function of the phone. Pinpoints the location of a crime on a map. Frame told the New York Post that we're not hearing victims' 911 calls. There are police scanners involved, and we have a network of antennae across the boroughs. Nancy Levine, I think is how you pronounce it. She's the director of Justice Policy Center at the Urban Institute, was quoted in this article saying that branding, i.e. the name Vigilante, is really counterproductive. It suggests citizen intervention, and you're thinking about Trayvon Martin. It's pretty disturbing. But on the other hand, I mean, I can see his point where a lot of transparency could actually have a beneficial effect on crime. So I'm kind of betwixt and between on this one.
Well, I'm in New York and I'm in Manhattan, and I have seen firsthand that you can call the police and the police can come, but they don't really want to be bothered writing reports and doing all the other things that are involved in reporting a crime. So they'll basically say, don't worry about it, and leave. And meanwhile, somebody might have come and helped you. So yeah, I can see both sides of it. I can see that people who want more trouble could come and cause more trouble. And I could also see that maybe somebody would help you so that you wouldn't get hurt. It's a tough one. Yeah. But I agree, the name stinks.
Yeah. It's catchy, but it does have an implication. So
yeah, really. So that brings us to better news. And this is, this could have been in bad news, really, but Brian Stelter on Reliable Sources on CNN pointed out that fake news is a huge plague on the internet. And this is absolutely important because there's an election going on and people are passing around, old news, weird news, untrue news, fake news. Facebook's algorithm has fake news. I mean, it's just happening all the time. And so what Brian Stelter is saying, and I wrote a blog post about this, is that you just really have to triple check all your sources. And I've talked about this before. I'm posting a link about it again. Howard Rheingold has a guide to crap detection resources to help you figure out whether what you're posting is valid, is true. Please use these things. Please listen to this because times are tough right now. We're going through the worst election maybe in the history of the world, and fake news is not going to help anybody do anything.
Well, that does assume, BL, that you are interested in the truth to begin with.
Well, let's hope the people we're talking to are.
We're kind of having a fact-free election this year, so there's that.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, but let's
on the lighter side of
listeners
politics,
are wanting facts.
on the lighter side of politics, last week had a wonderful story. I found this through Star Tribune. Rachel Chazin is the reporter. President Obama at a Halloween event at the White House. President Obama and the First Lady were handing out candy to the little trick-or-treaters who were coming there for their trick-or-treating Halloween festivities, one of whom was dressed as Prince, to which the president said, "Hey, Prince, what's happening, man?" And he started singing Purple Rain to the little boy. It was all captured, of course, on video, and we'll include the video on the blog at beyondsocialmediashow.com/164.
Doesn't it make you sad that we're not going to have a cool president anymore?
8
No
more
matter
years.
who wins.
8 more years.
So, so I'm going. Yeah, really. I'm going to go really out there. You can now use your Android phone to cast spells from Harry Potter. I think this is very cool. This is from a Google post by David Blanar, who's the chief magicatologist or some title like that. And Google is partnering with the film Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and the book by Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, and so you now can say, "Okay, Google," and then Lumos, and your flashlight will turn on, and Knox turns it off, and you can say, "Okay, Google, Silencio," to turn off your ringer and notifications, and you don't have to update anything. These are already activated on phones, and in the Harry Potter films and the books, the spell Lumos turns the characters' wands into flashlights, and Silencio silences people. So you get to explore this whole world, and also with they also announced that with Google Street View you can visit New York in 1926, and I mean, there's a lot of magic going on, and once you've mastered the charms and found the lay of the land, you can help to escape beasts and to go back to where they came from. And you can use your Daydream View, which is coming to stores on November 10th, your virtual reality headset, to wave a wand to explore the magic of Newt's case, a treasure trove full of everything he needs to cast spells, solve puzzles, and find beasts.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I'll have to try it.
Yeah, I need an Android phone. I don't have one.
Maybe you'll need to buy a Pixel.
Well, I need a Pixel because I think that it sounds great from everything I've read.
I last weekend
You bought a Pixel.
I didn't buy a Pixel, no. Last weekend I binge watched. I was busy watching a new Amazon show called Girls Revolt. I watched literally all 10 episodes, start to finish, in one sitting. And this is from a Rolling Stone article by Alexis Sotile, I think is how you pronounce it. But Amazon Studios has released a new show called Good Girls Revolt. It's set in 1969 New York at Weekly News magazine is the name of the magazine, the fictional magazine. The show illustrates the blatant sexism and harassment women suffered at that time, and in journalism. Women were hired as researchers, quote unquote, and didn't get to write, weren't allowed to write, but often did write, just didn't get their names as bylines in the stuff that they wrote. And the two of the main characters in the series are Nora Ephron, who of course she's a young researcher in the story, but she of course is the famous writer and screenwriter. And Eleanor Holmes Norton, who is playing herself as a ACL. The character is playing Eleanor Holmes Norton as an ACLU attorney, and she's now, of course, the DC Congresswoman. Shows a fictionalized account of a real lawsuit brought by Eleanor Holmes Norton against Newsweek to force the magazine to give bylines to women. It's kind of a madman for the media industry, and it documents the rise of the women's liberation movement. Again, like I said, I watched all 10 episodes in a row last weekend. It was very good. I'm looking forward to next season and seeing how I suspect they're going to progress through the years, and seeing how culture and attitudes and stuff change and laws change, and looks good. We'll include a trailer for the show on the blog at beyondsocialmediashow.com/164.
I've been watching Mel Brooks movies to avoid the news, but I must tell you that when I went for a job interview in the 70s at the New Haven Register, the editor said, I quote, "Honey, how could I sleep at night if I sent you out to a meeting in that little skirt you're wearing?" And I said, "Well, isn't that my problem, sir?" And he said, "Honey, I couldn't deal with it." So it took quite a long time for things to change. But In fact, they're still changing. Okay, so a change to Facebook Live broadcast. You can now schedule them in advance, which is kind of a big deal. And this is from a social media show, a Social Media Today story by Andrew Hutchinson. And it's an update, and it enables only verified page owners to schedule their, whatever that means, to schedule their Facebook broadcast. And it has a new tool that sends out an announcement post with an option for users to get a reminder. Does this sound familiar? Yes, it sounds like YouTube. You can schedule a live broadcast up to 1 week in advance. People can join your lobby 3 minutes before your broadcast begins. And once you've scheduled the live video, you can share a link to the broadcast or embed it in other places, just like you can do with Hangouts. So here it comes. Sooner or later, we'll all get it.
Well, looking forward to trying it out.
Yeah.
Did you you watch the World Series at all, BL?
I did not.
Did not. It's kind of a big deal around our office because we have a lot of Chicago Cubs fans. Of course, the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians played each other in the World Series, and neither team has won a World Series championship in a really, really long time.
Like 100 years.
Yeah. So this is from a Mashable article by Christina Carrega, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Cubs fans in particular have suffered a 108-year championship drought. But now, of course, after a 7-game World Series, they are World Series champions, and all our Cubs fans at the office are elated. And as you can imagine, Mike Kaplan is a weatherman for Fox 32 Chicago, and he's a steadfast Cubs fan. He reported following the Cubs' victory in Game 7 that hell had officially frozen over. He included in his list of city temperatures on the broadcast, there was a listing for hell, which was at minus 54 degrees Fahrenheit. As again, we had a lot of Cubs fans in the agency. I'm so happy for them. I know how it feels. My Minnesota Twins, who started as a franchise in 1961, hadn't won a World Series in my lifetime until 1987. That was 26 years, but it was like never going to happen, and then it happened in '87. So I was elated, and I can empathize with them.
Well, my friend is a physical therapist for the Washington Nationals, and they were at the head of their division, and it looked like they were going to the World Series. So I think a lot of people were disappointed this year. I'm out of good news.
I got one more. New York Times has launched a daily 360 video series. This is from News Shooter. The reporter is Sarah Radol. New York Times has announced an initiative to publish one 360-degree video every day. Samsung provided the journalists at the Times with Gear 360 cameras and related equipment. The videos are not extremely high production value 360 videos like the Times award-winning The Displaced 360 video that we talked about in episode 117. But these daily 360 videos are simple but effective. So there's one that's a view of the media pen at a view from the media pen at a Donald Trump rally. So you can see all the Trump supporters yelling epithets at the reporters, which gives you a different perspective. You can read about it. You know, reporters have reported on it, but once you actually can look around and see all these jeering people, it gives you a different perspective. There's another one that shows what it's like to be in a massive crowd in Chicago as the final out was recorded in Game 7 of the World Series, and the Cubs won the championship, and the crowd erupts. So there's another one with a view of rubble from an airstrike in Yemen. So it's pretty cool. The Samsung's technology allows reporters to capture 360 video fairly easily, and the problem with 360 video is stitching all the images together, and their software allows them to quickly stitch it together, so it's a great field tool. But we'll embed these examples we talked about on the blog at beyondsocialmediashow.com/164.
That's exciting, actually.
Oh.
So that brings us to shiny objects, which that was
indeed.
pretty shiny. So IBM announced that the Weather Channel has launched a Watson-powered cognitive weather bot for Facebook Messenger, and it uses IBM Watson's natural language and machine learning tools to learn your preferences for weather information. And over time, the bot makes recommendations about weather and news information based on how you like to get it. Very cool.
Yeah, I can use that. I need to check what's the temperature in Chaska, what's the weather like in Chaska where I live, what's the weather like in Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis where I work, what's the weather like in
Why, are they
Minneapolis and St.
different?
Paul where I play football. Yeah, I mean, weather's different everywhere.
Well, I have, what is the name of my app? And it tells me that. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. So we talked last episode about Vine closing down. So kind of disappointing for all the Vine lovers out there. But GIPHY loves Vine, and they have an app called GIPHY Loves Vine that if you have a GIPHY account, you'll be able to transfer all of your Vines you've created with this new tool. They'll be shareable as on GIPHY as GIFs. As animated GIFs, and they'll also share the videos, transfer the videos for you, so you'll have the videos, including sound and all, on GIPHY. So GIPHY to the rescue.
Smart move on their part.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just got a huge cash infusion
Yeah,
from venture capitals. And Bette Midler tweeted, she said, imagine you're a Vine star and you wake up and you find out that you got to find another way to make a living.
No doubt. Really.
I mean, really, there are some people making millions on Vine. So you now can have bacon with your virtual reality, thanks to Hormel.
About time.
You can get a bacon-scented Google Cardboard, and inside the VR experience, you can buy bacon. It's, what's it called? Black Label bacon. It's supposed to be really good bacon.
It is good bacon.
It is good bacon. I don't know. The best bacon in the world. There's two places that have the best bacon in the world. One is the Boathouse at Central Park, where instead of frying the bacon, they bake the bacon. And the other is the Roger Smith Hotel. And on Chris Brogan's 40th birthday, he had a big party there, and they brought out this ginormous tray piled up this high with bacon. It was a very memorable evening for that reason. So this is really funny. You know, there's an app called MapleMatch, and it's set up for those of us who would not want to live in the United States in the event of a Trump presidency, to find a Canadian who'll marry us and bring us to live in Canada. So they finally got the app launched, and it says, while you're searching for your soulmate from the other side of the border, be sure to check out some of the features that give MapleMatch its mapley goodness. And it's apparently they're curated matches, and you get surveys that, you know, will include your deal breakers. And it says, we can't wait to get you matched with a wonderful American or Canadian soon, and we're proud to have your back no matter who wins the U.S. presidential election.
Well, you can find your Canadian match, or you can turn to LinkedIn and find your salary match. They have a new tool called LinkedIn Salary that they've released, and it's an online tool that allows you to research salary and bonus ranges by job title, location, industry, experience, education level, company size. You can imagine the treasure trove of data LinkedIn has about all those things. So useful tool to see what you're worth, basically.
And they claim that if you put your salary in there, it's encrypted so nobody sees it, but I don't believe them. So I believe that brings us to the daily numbers.
It does. Speaking of income, Freelance Nation, McKinsey has a report out on independent workers. They surveyed, I think, 8,000 workers and discovered that up to 162 million people in Europe and the United States, or 20 to 30% of the working age population, engage in some form of independent work. These workers largely fit into four segments. There's free agents who are actively choose independent work and derive their primary income from it. They are 30% of independent workers, or about 49 million. Casual earners whose independent works is who use independent work to supplement income and do so by choice. They make up 40% of independent workers, or 64 million people. Reluctants are people who make their primary living from independent work but would prefer a traditional job. job. They make up 14% of independent workers, or 23 million people. And then finally, financially strapped, who do supplemental income work out of necessity. They make up 16% of independent workers, or 26 million people.
Wow, that's an awful lot of people who are looking for some extra money, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So that, I believe, brings us to the end.
Does indeed.
Yes? You want to take us out?
Thanks for watching episode 164 of the Beyond Social Media Show. We'll have links to everything, embedded content, videos, everything that we talked about on the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/164. Let us know what you think by leaving us a review at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/love, where we'll have links to all the places you can review us. I am David Erickson. You can find me at D. Erickson on Twitter. My blog is E-Strategy Blog. I also blog for my agency's blog on CreativePR.com/blog. BL, you can find at What's Next on Twitter. Her blog, her excellent blog, is what'snextblog.com, which you should absolutely read. Maximum Dash Plus is her company where you can hire her to do online events and video. She also publishes Paw Fun, which is, as you imagine, a pet fun blog. And you can reach us on the web at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We're on Twitter at BS Media Show. Subscribe to our newsletter, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. And until next week, thanks for watching.
Yeah, we'll be back post-election. I may be broadcasting from Canada, depending on the outcome. But
vote
thanks for
on
watching.
Tuesday.
Vote on Tuesday. Yes, please vote your conscience. Please, please vote. See you next week at our regular time, which is Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Bye.